Hello, my name is Leonard Schmiggy. I'm going to just go over this article right quick. So this is from New York Times, the battlegrounds within battlegrounds. Basically, I'm just going to comment on it and I'm going to tell you why it's sort of important. Um, let's see, 2016. The most contested battles will be in 6 states: Arizona, Florida, Pennsylvania, North Carolina, Michigan, Wisconsin. Trump won some by razor thin margins. All right. Um, Within these states, there are 20 counties that will help decide who wins enough electoral votes to win the White House. They represent groups of voters both candidates are seeking. Here's what to watch for. All right. We'll start with Florida, conservative leaning. It's always decided by a point or two. Basically, it comes down to 100,000 votes usually or less for any statewide situation. Now, there's some very large counties in Florida, and this is what's important. There's 3,065. Here's Pinellas County. This is where I'm videoing from right now. I live right here in St. Petersburg, and we have been trying to get better election systems ever since the hanging Chad fiasco 20 years ago. We had switched in 2004 to, there's like DRE voting machines, which are truly idiotic. Okay. I mean, almost all the states are and now realized, oh, gee, we need paper. I mean, the whole thing was a trick. The hanging Chad thing was a fiasco caused on purpose. There's a documentary about it. I actually have a stack of movies about elections and election problems that different people have made over the years, trying to convince our systems to be better. It's hard to believe that one of the greatest countries in the world, if not the greatest, has some of the worst election systems on the planet. It's almost like we're so great we don't even need to worry about a broken down election system, but we do. And here's the kicker, right? If we had a popular vote, it would be virtually impossible to cheat because you need to cheat everywhere and get millions of votes. But as this example says, it's 20 different counties. So out of the 3,069 voting districts, there's 20 counties in a state that if they flip that one state, particularly, for example, Florida is key. If you can take Florida, if it's a razor thin margin, a single large county in Florida can cheat, and then Florida goes to one or the other, and then that person, quote, wins, even though they didn't really win. All right. So the free world is riding on perhaps one single election system. So, and our supervisor of elections, Julie Marcus, will not save the digital ballot images that are scanned when you go vote on election day. The scanner takes a picture of every single ballot, and that way, if something happens to the paper, like maybe it gets altered later on, we'll have a digital image scanned as well. And for some reason, 8 counties in Florida refuse, and there happen to be all the largest ones mostly. They don't want to save the digital ballot images. All the other counties have absolutely no problem. The only reason I can figure out is because somebody wants to cheat. And you have to remember it's quite unbelievable. You might say, oh, well, don't they have a security audit? Of course not. There's no security. You would think so, right? Doesn't any citizen have the right to go in there and watch the vote being counted? No. They get the right to watch the supervisor of elections go up to the counting machine. The machine counts the votes, tells them a number, and presumably they come bring that number to the public and they say, aha, this is what the machine gave us. And then if you don't like it, you can ask for a recount, but it has to be within a certain margin or you're not allowed to have the recount unless you can prove fraud, which of course is essentially impossible. So if they simply cheat and make sure the recount margin is wider than the law, then you just cheat the election. There's no recount, right? So then your only recourse is like, well, let me have the ballot so I can count them after the fact. I think it was down in Broward, right? And then, which they required by law to keep for 22 months. And then mysteriously, often it's like, oh, I'm so sorry. We accidentally shredded all the ballots. I must have signed off on the wrong thing, right? I mean, it's over and over and over for 20 years since I've been in this business of trying to figure out why our systems are such corrupt, right? They're just bad. And I think you should find out for yourself. Go to your local canvassing board meeting and, look through the window at what's going on in there and tell yourself, if this was an IRS audit of your books and the IRS guy was told to wait in the other room and look through the window while you and your accountant go through the numbers, and then you bring those numbers to the IRS guy and say, here it is, buddy. They're all worked out. See, I knew we didn't owe you any taxes. That's our system. That's our election monitoring system. If you like, there's a great video of me. I just wanted to see the cars unload the ballots, right? You really can't see any election counting or whatever, but ideally you'd want to see the box of ballot, the paper, go into the storage room, be sealed and locked up, right? Well, now they won't even let me in that part of the warehouse where they always did in the past. And get this, in Pinellas, they even use Pinellas County inmates, prisoners, to help unload the cars. I'm laughing because it's better than crying, right? So anyway, there's a lot of YouTubes on that on my Shadow Vote channel, because like I said, I've been doing this a long time. So back to this. So this one county can determine the fate of the free world, right? Now, the Pinellas is like what, fifth or sixth largest. So, and also St. Pete Poll's done an amazing job polling this a lot. So maybe, we don't know. But these other counties, Broward, Miami-Dade, Duval, Orange, I don't know. There's a lot of counties that, the margins are usually so thin, they can easily do it. All right, so let me just go back to the article here. Right, and they always talk about these trends, but we don't know whether the trends on the turnout was all that accurate, because they could have been cheating by a few points forever, because really it's a trust me system. Here we go, Osceola County. All right, I'm just going to zip through this whole thing. All right, North Carolina. Oh, and we got the 8 states with DREs, which is direct record electronic vote, which means there's no paper trail. Nobody with the brain should accept this. And we did all over this country. It's now 16 years later, 20 years later, they're like, the voters, I guess the voters want some paper accountability. Oh, really? You think so? They're not just going to take your word for it? It's a sad state of affairs. So out of 3,069 districts, instead of having millions of votes have to be frauded, cast in, or rigged, just one county, literally one. So let's say you wanted to flip Florida, or one year was Florida, one year was Ohio, and last time was probably Pennsylvania. So let's say there's 5 supervisors of elections of the 5 largest counties. You don't think that the right people, you get the top, get 2 out of 5 maybe that are willing to look the other way while you make sure the right candidate wins? Let's see. Pennsylvania, 2 huge Democratic cities. And then, of course, there's the old-fashioned way, too. You could just reduce voter turnout. You can take wherever the most Democrats are, if you're for the Republicans, or vice versa, and you could just make it harder for them to vote. You just put up every barrier possible. You get a few thousand less Democrats, and bang, you've taken the entire state of Florida, Chester County. And these papers like the New York Times, all of them, they all went along with this paperless voting machine fiasco, right? For years. Now they finally printed an article that's like, oh, well, maybe it's not the greatest idea in the world, I'm sorry, but 20 years too late. How many people in Iraq died? We get bombed on 9/11. the guys in Afghanistan and we kill everybody in Iraq. Does that make any sense? You know, Bush wouldn't have been in the 508 votes or whatever, you know, when really they stopped the counting in Florida and then the court put Bush in. This is not the way to conduct free and fair elections. We need to go from the worst system in the world to the best system. And neither one of the political parties has done anything to help with that. So we need to start a national movement for, if for no other reason, to stop the cheating and have a universal system for voting, and also get rid of the electoral college. Because the other problem with the electoral college is all the money and advertising and all the work is only done in select areas. You know, the Democrats have California, so no Republican ever goes there. It's not a system that makes sense. All right. Now I understand there's always legacy crap left over from past years, but the point of government is to fix, to evolve, and to improve. That's why we send them a lot of money so they can fix these problems. You know, we got a gazillion lawyers in our government. They can write a few laws and get this stuff straightened out. So I urge you to join Civic Endeavors, pay a subscription fee of $1 per month. That's all we need. And if you got to get your friends to join us too, once we get anywhere from 100,000 people to 1,000,000 people, we'll be fully funded with this little tiny micro pay from each of you, and we can launch a lot of civic action, and we'll build the website. We'll work together. Instead of me calling the shots as the quote director, it's going to be owned. It's going to be a collaborative owned by all the members. Everybody who puts $1 in owns a piece of it. Everybody gets to suggest. We're going to put some website code together so that, you know, consensus and different techniques are going to be used so everybody gets their say. But the important thing is, by the way, is the more people that you recruit to join with your referral link, the more influence you're going to have. And we're going to vote these ideas up and down. We're going to do constitutional amendments for the state of Florida is one of them, the most important, because if we're going to need 1 million super signers because the voter turnout is so high. And I urge you, please be a super signer. And if for some reason you can't pay the $1 a month, you're still in, right? We still need you. You know, somebody else will have to pay $2 to cover you, but some people don't have a credit card or even a bank account. You can still participate and you can help us in a lot of ways. I'm just going to run through the rest of this New York Times stuff. I hope they don't get upset. Anyway, subscribe to the New York Times. They did a pretty good job here. I can't really recommend the paper, but this article is good, and I'm going to use it on my YouTube channel. And I'm assuming it's copyrighted, but I'm getting a free view. And this is, you'll have to Google it up yourself. Maricopa County, Arizona. Anyway, point is 10 districts and 10 to 20 counties. Any one of those, well, any large one can easily flip this election. All right, thank you for listening. One more thing, yeah, to join Civic Endeavors, you want to go to this website, Civic Endeavors, get out the informed vote. This is where you join. We'll have the PayPal link up there pretty soon. We're going to have a registered voter forum so that we don't have to worry about spam and abuse, and you'll be able to discuss important issues on the record as your real name, just like you do when you go down to City Hall and you say, hey, my name is Leonard Schmiggy. I live at this address, and I have, you get your 3 minutes to tell your councilman. That's what most cities do. We'll have a similar system where, we're trying to fix things on the record. We're not trying to make a junk discussion forum. All right. Thank you very much. Once again, civicendeavors.org. And if you're in Florida, you can certainly use our Get Out the Vote tools and our ballot guide tool and everything else, which we really hope you will at least look up to make sure your voter record is correct.